Welcome to the Sacred Feminine Power podcast, where we explore the many facets of feminine power and why it is so important for women and for men to step into this power in our world at this time. This is Emmy from Feminine Revered, and my wonderful guest for today is Brooke Hazen. Brooke is an organic farmer, lifelong athlete, physical coach, and a health and fitness enthusiast. A Southern California native, Brooke grew up loving the ocean and the natural world. His affinity for the land, healthy living, and natural foods led him to study agriculture at university. In 2001, Brooke realized his vision to grow nutritious, organic, farm-to-table foods under his own brand when he purchased 88 acres of pasture land in the beautiful Northern California farming region of Sebastopol. He now cultivates apples, citrus, medicinal herbs, and high polyphenol olives. Walking the rows each day, he meticulously hand-tends his orchards and presses award-winning extra virgin olive oil on his West Sonoma County farm and olive mill, Gold Ridge Organic Farms. Now an author, You Are Not Broken, a holistic guide for men and women to heal the pathways of sexual dysfunction and restore relational harmony together, is his first book. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you so much, Emmy. It's a pleasure to be on.
Oh, it's a blessing to have you with us, and I am super excited to be learning from you today as well.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
Now, since my podcast is called Sacred Feminine Power, I love to start by asking my guests, what does sacred feminine power mean to you personally?
I love this question. I've thought about it deeply, and just to give you a start to what I think what I call the divine feminine embodies intuition, generosity, patience, flexibility, connection, communication, inclusiveness, bonding, loving, nurturing, creativity, and this is important, making decisions which are in alignment with and call in and allow God's light and healing energy to fill our body, minds, and souls.
I love that. I love how you've defined that, Brooke, and I'm sure we're going to dive into some of this a little bit deeper in a moment. But before we get there, Brooke, I would love to hear from you if you could share a challenge that you have faced on your path that's really helped you to activate these elements of sacred feminine power that you just described.
Sure. So my journey was the most beautiful journey of my life. It started about 3 to 4 years ago when I started experiencing the symptoms of sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, which is, I don't like to use that term erectile dysfunction much. It's more of, I was experiencing arousal issues due to pornography addiction. And that's actually what I've discovered is a common form of ED that we don't talk about. Anyhow, I was going through the most challenging and darkest period of my life because I was trying to resolve these symptoms with pharmaceutical ED medications, because that's really the only, until I wrote this book, this was the only healing modality that was present for ED for men, which is a very small sliver of healing modality that is pharmaceutical and only focuses on the cardiovascular function of our blood flow, but has nothing to do, is actually misprescribed and misdiagnosed for what I have and what millions of other men have. So I was experiencing severe side effects, and it was also just not in harmony with the flow of my heart and my soul. And it was very mechanical and dependent and debilitating to have to depend on and give up my power to the flow of my own sexual health to be dependent on these drugs. So I felt like a lab rat at the time, and I could still think back to the amount of suffering I was experiencing at that time and that millions of men are experiencing now. And as I increasingly lost any avenues through this pharmaceutical approach, I became increasingly depressed, and I would go through depression for weeks at a time. And during this time, I was praying to God And I was first praying for more of a controlled prayer of, please, give me a natural healing, medicine that doesn't have side effects and works well. Well, I never got that. And so when I finally got to the point where there was no other solutions, I had no choice but to fully let go. And it was a very scary but freeing time in my life where I finally let go to God and said, God, please give me a healing miracle. And that was when my journey began. When I let go, my journey towards vibrant sexual health, as well as my overall physical and relational health, and my relationship with myself and God really started to flourish and go beyond my wildest dreams. And I do believe it's this letting go that is so critical and is the launching pad for transformation. And letting go really refers to letting go of our addictions and negative habits and our fears, as well as the myths and misconceptions in society and the peer, familial, cultural, and corporate pressure that's put on us. Letting go of all that and restoring a balanced neurology, a healthy dopamine and healthy oxytocin levels is really the key to unlocking the unlimited potential of the mind. And it's the first step towards healing our sexual dysfunction.
Beautiful. Well, Brooke, thank you so much for sharing so openly and vulnerably about your journey. I mean, the theme that you're talking to, sexual dysfunction and erectile dysfunction, those are topics that for a lot of people, I think, will still carry a lot of shame and a lot of reluctance to come to talk about it and to be openly expressing about that. Have you found that on your journey as well?
Yes, I do believe that there is a great amount of fear, as well as that millions of men are experiencing right now, where they do not want to talk about it. But there's also tremendous pressure, and we don't talk about this very much, but Western medicine is actually makes us afraid of erectile dysfunction. They want us, I believe they sort of, or at least allow us to have this fear around erectile dysfunction, because they're in the business of selling lots of pharmaceuticals and making lots of money. And their only solution actually is pharmaceutical and surgical. There's really no holistic, curative, and preventative approach to medicine. Mm-hmm. And so what they're doing is they're actually misprescribing blood flow drugs to millions of men who are actually experiencing porn-induced erectile dysfunction. And so they prescribe it for the rest of their lives. There's really no cure or approach for how to restore the vibrant sexual health that we want to have ever again for the rest of our lives. So what I believe I learned through this process was that I'm here to help empower people, empower men to not be dependent on just a pill, because a pill can never provide true healing. But to provide a pathway that I had to blaze on my own, naturally, holistically, which really calls in the divine feminine. I actually wrote an entire chapter about toxic masculinity. And what I just define that as is men who are lacking a balance of the divine feminine and divine masculine energies in their lives. And when I talked earlier about women, the divine feminine energy making decisions which are in alignment with and call in God's healing energy and light, you can really see this statistically when you look at pornography, because men and women are equally exposed initially to pornography. But as this toxic masculine energy, it's men that continue to make decisions which block this light from coming in, block the healing from coming in. For example, with pornography, statistically, it's 80% of men watch and ejaculate to pornography weekly. So it's at least once a week. We know it's more than that because it's an addiction. Whereas women, only 20%, 6% of the time, 26% of the time for women. So women are clearly rejecting the dopamine-driven mating behaviors of pornography and choosing over and over the bonding-based, oxytocin-laden connective behaviors of wanting to have deep connective relationships. And right now, men are actually in a state where, because of this addiction to pornography and their depleted dopamine levels, they're unable to have relationships, truly connective relationships. And they're to the point where they've desensitized themselves not only to their partners and their relationships, but to the pornography itself, to life, to everything. It's all interconnected. We really cannot look at our sexual areas of our body as isolated. Our whole body is interconnected. All the organs of our body, all the cells of our body are connected, interwoven in this beautiful orchestra. And our sexual and relational health and our overall physical health is completely interrelated. The health of our sexual performance is completely tied to our overall physical health. And it's tied to and another common denominator is our healthy neurology. So right now, men are at war with their neurology. They're battling for their souls and for their neurology, because pornography really is an addiction. It's truly an addiction on par with cocaine, morphine, alcohol, physical drugs. The brain actually cannot differentiate one bit between a chemical, physical addiction and a neurological addiction. In fact, the brain cannot tell the difference between a real life connected partner and pixels on a screen. What happens is, over time, is that the dopamine levels, when watching this super stimulus and engaging in ejaculation to pornography, what happens is the dopamine levels drastically drop. Each time that a specific neurological groove towards pornography for each individual is engaged in, the brain starts canceling out dopamine receptors and dopamine levels because it's so loud and noisy for the brain that it cannot handle this super stimulus, which is a combination of it's not just ejaculation, actually, it's technically semen release that causes a dopamine drop for men. We're really unaware of the enormous toll that a semen release takes on men. But at the moment of semen release, the dopamine levels for men drop dramatically, and they go into a intense refractory period of replenishment where they need to replace all the most vital, precious resources in their body to rebuild the sperm levels. And this pulls growth factors, hormones, nutrients from the body, from all the most precious parts of our body to replace it. And this creates a intense refractory period of fatigue and mood imbalance and distancing in relationships. And so the reason that it's such a super stimulus is because you combine this release of semen effect that men go through, this process that they go through of replenishment and refractory period, with this super stimulus of constant novelty. You have a constant new, fresh dopamine hits for the brain. And so what happens is, to keep getting that same hit, just like with any sort of drug, the same level of dopamine hit each time, you have to actually escalate what you're watching. It's an insidious cycle that's so destructive, not only to sex life, it's just a matter of time before men experience porn-induced erectile dysfunction, which is being able to get aroused to pornography, but not being able to be aroused to a real connected partner. And it actually gets to the point where it's so addictive in the cycle that you can no longer get aroused to even your favorite pornography. And you have to escalate to areas of pornography that men never dreamed of ever looking at, but they're forced to continue this addiction.
Right. Wow. I had no idea the statistics were so high for men around this. And
yes, it is. It's very high. I believe it could be higher. I really think, and it's a growing issue. This is not static. This is actually getting worse. I'm actually friends with Marnia Robinson, who wrote Cupid's Poisoned Arrow. Gary Wilson passed away last year. That was Marnia's husband. He wrote Your Brain on Porn. And I'm friends with Mary and Gary at the Reward Foundation in the UK. And when I asked Mary and Daryl, when I asked Daryl about what happened, what he thinks about if this is an emerging, continuing problem with pornography, he said, yes, he believes it is actually getting worse. And so that's why your podcast is so important, because calling in the divine feminine is what I'm hoping for, is because men are not in a place to help themselves right now. And so I'm really depending on women to help, and for this divine feminine energy to come in and help men to heal and regain balanced divine masculine and divine feminine energies in their lives. And I lay out pathways in my book for how men can restore this balance. I've done it myself, actually. And it's mainly through this first regaining this pure mind and this balanced neurology. That's the key. That is the key to unlocking the unlimited potential of the mind. And that's what I believe why God led me to for the first miracle in my journey. The real miracle was first going to Your Brain on Porn and seeing that website. And that was because God wanted all of us to know that we have unlimited potential of the mind. We have the key to it. And that key is to have a balanced neurology and to have a pure mind, to let go of those addictions, to let go of the fears and the negative habits and the pressure we experience from corporations to consume as a Western culture.
I would really love to hear from you, Brooke, what some of those modalities are that you use to heal yourself and what you describe in your book as well.
Okay, well, of course, as I've said over and over, the most crucial foundation, the launching pad for all further growth, massive transformation in our lives starts with, first, of course, making these choices that allow God's light and healing into us. And that is by refraining from pornography, quitting ejaculation to pornography, and then graduating to semen retention. And this also translates into the health of our relationships. It's amazing how it all interconnects. This journey started as a sexual healing journey for me, and woke me up to that it is all interconnected, that we can have healthier relationships by practicing certain sexual behaviors. And so semen retention is another sort of myth that scares men. You know, men are scared to talk about ED. They're scared to engage in semen retention because we're taught by culture how important it is to, as Western culture teaches us, actually. First, let me say Western culture really has, in its, I would say, toxic masculine approach to basically everything that's foundational in our lives is completely upside down and backwards. Now, when you look at pornography, it's destroying neurology, relationships, and leaving men impotent. When you look at the mating-based, climactic-driven behaviors, it's undermining and poisoning the foundations of long-term, deep, connective, intimate, sensual relationships and marriages. And when you look at what we eat, how much we eat, and how often we eat, it is perpetuating comorbidities, disease, and death at appalling rates. It's very clear. And then when you look at the healthcare system, it's really a sick care system. It's reactionary, reductionist. It's a toxic masculine approach, which has completely extracted the divine feminine from the equation. And, it's really just reduced it to pharmaceuticals and surgeries. And there's really no holistic approach to anything. There's no getting to the source. So yes, all these approaches are. Sorry, go ahead.
Very much on purpose, I would say. A very systematic approach to keeping us, I would say, confined to certain ways of living.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned one of the aspects that's embodied by the divine feminine is generosity. Because when you look at toxic masculinity, it's really, this is where you get the greed. You get where we're basically forcing these sick kind of epidemics and dysfunctions on people, illnesses on people, to make money rather than to actually give them the affordable, healthy, holistic, curative healing that we need on a holistic level that's free of side effects. And that's what my whole book is about, is no side effects. We do not need any side effects. There is no place in modern era right now for erectile dysfunction. I have solutions for not only neurologically based, porn-induced erectile dysfunction, but also any forms of organic erectile dysfunction. I've really identified 3 different forms of erectile dysfunction. There's the porn-induced erectile dysfunction. There's what I call an energetic erectile dysfunction. This is where the chi sexual energy and overall chi energy, our life force, gets depleted by too much ejaculation, too much release of our precious sexual energy, which is our overall energy too. And then organic ED. And Western medicine wants to make us think everything's organic ED because that's the only tool they have. It's a very small sliver, and I challenge anyone to find a Western medicine that can actually provide any holistic, preventative, and curative protocol for anything. There is none in Western medicine. It's a very new industry, only, 50, 60 years since surgeries and pharmaceuticals were developed. Organic ED is the 3rd one I've identified. And I have protocols in my book that if you follow it all, it's all holistic, that can cure any level of organic ED. If Western medicine actually did luck out and actually this time prescribe the right pharmaceutical for someone that has blood flow erectile dysfunction from restricted blood flow, they're still not getting to the root cause of what's causing blood flow restriction. The pill they give men does not do anything to heal the source of the issue. It covers it up. It just makes them dependent on this pill. But the true source I've discovered for, in this case, which I think is generally the least amount of ED, is actually from organic ED. I think the number 1 diagnosis should always be looking at how often do you ejaculate to pornography. That's the start, because even if you have organic ED, you may still have neurologically based ED. And in the organic EDs, solutions are never going to work, even on a holistic level, because you still have neurologically based ED. So the Western medicine is still not looking at the root source of what is causing the organic ED. What's causing it, I've discovered, they blame arteriosclerosis, right? It's restricted blood flow due to the calcification and plaque buildup in the blood vessels. But that's just a symptom. That's actually like the ambulance driver going to help. Actually, the latest studies have shown that that LDL cholesterol, which Western medicine calls bad cholesterol, it's actually not bad. It's actually really good. It's actually antioxidant, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and it's anti-cancer. It actually, now the latest studies are showing that by artificially blocking cholesterol production, now we're increasing deaths from cancer and heart attacks. This is an example where this isolated masculine approach, this toxic masculine approach to medicine, is causing chain reactions beyond what was intended, because it's in isolation. It's too much. They're not only going into certain areas of the body, but certain pathways within the body, which can never be holistic. It's leaving out God's holistic process and the divine feminine holistic aspect, right? So what I've discovered the source of arteriosclerosis is, that's the symptom. The source is from free radical damage and inflammation in the blood vessels, which is created by, and Western culture does not want anyone to know this, it's the 1-2 ton elephant in the room, which is, it's our diet, it's heavy metal exposure, it's what goes in our mouth, what we breathe, eat, and drink that is causing the arteriosclerosis. It's eating an animal-based diet, which creates saturated fats, free radicals, and carcinogens, which the body then, and as well as heavy metal exposures we get from everywhere. And then there's environmental pollutants and toxins also. But this is what the cholesterol goes to deactivate and to heal. It's actually going there to help resolve the problem. It's our body's only way of trying to deactivate these free radical the damage that's happening with this oxidation in our blood vessels. And so it's sort of an antioxidant. It's deactivating all this oxidation happening. And that's what is causing the arteriosclerosis. But so my book is about, you have to look at everything. It's synergistic. You practice all the different modalities together, because when you change your diet and when you get rid of the heavy metals through chelation and the plaque through the different IVs that I recommend, you don't want to keep replacing it with those bad habits that created it in the first place, in which Western culture is completely ignoring. You want to get to the root cause, which making those changes so that we're not exposed to heavy metals as much as possible, and that we can chelate them out from time to time once we are able to get rid of them completely. But also with our diet changes, we're able to get rid of the root source by changing to a plant-based diet. I've always been plant-based, and I was shocked in my studies over the last 3 years to discover that, a plant-based diet is being practiced by all the fastest, greatest, champions now, and record-breaking athletes. But it's also basically healthier, because the 15 leading causes of death in the world are related to eating an animal-based diet. So switching to, and I'm not talking about just eating any old plant-based diet. I'm talking about also having intermittent fasting, which is incredibly regenerative and healthy. It helps burn off visceral fat, surface fat. But once you do this to nourish your body when you break your fast with, superfoods and, really healthy, wholesome, like vegetables, fruits, nuts, whole grains, definitely not processed flours and processed foods, because that's actually the most harmful form. And actually soft drinks, these sugar, high fructose, is very bad for you. It's so basically disengaging in those harmful parts. And for me, I just eat more like quinoa when I eat grains, and I eat like whole grain rice and, heartier foods. And it's funny, because as our brains and our brain's so plastic and our body's so resilient, when we start making these changes, we get rid of this dopamine addiction to food and to certain, aspects of our life, like pornography and all these dopamine addictions. The food becomes less of a critical factor. I'm getting to the point where I'm actually, can actually be, solid food becomes sort of cumbersome. Like I love to just eat a salad with quinoa and various, healthy vegetables and fruits and stuff in it, and then and whole grains, and then for dinner I don't eat that much. I'm not that addicted to food. It doesn't do the same for me, because I feel so good from the supplements and all the other healing modalities I'm doing, the protein powders, the greens powders, and the nourishing salads and whole grains, that I'm satisfied. I mean, we have to ask ourselves the question, why do we keep eating so much? Like, what is underneath that? Because I was overweight myself. I'm not just lecturing. I've gone through the most incredible transformation of my life because I was able to first heal this neurological addiction, which was blocking God's light and healing from entering into my body, mind, and soul.
Wow, Brooke, I could listen to you for hours. You're such a well of wisdom there, and everything that you say.
Thank you. That's kind.
Yeah, and everything.
That's so kind.
No, absolutely. And everything that you say resonates very, very strongly. So thank you for sharing this with us, with our listeners. And yeah, I mean, if our listeners wanted to find out more and perhaps get in touch with you and read your book, how would they find you?
Sure. Well, I have a website. It's brookehazen.com. I'll spell it out. It's BROOKEHAZEN, brookehazen.com. And on there, I have links to Amazon. I have the audiobook in my own voice. I recorded it in studio. And I also have a Kindle and a paperback. And the paperback's really wonderful. It has 111 really great scientific references of scientists who are really raising the alarm bell for all these different natural healing approaches, really the divine feminine approach that we're looking to re-engage and rebalance, recalibrate in our society and in our lives as individuals. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I have it on Amazon, and I have a website which has all kinds of links and resources available to those that are going through erectile dysfunction or sexual dysfunction that they can utilize to help them.
Beautiful. And I understand you've also got a whole lot of freebies on your website, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I have a growing list of podcasts. I have a lot of excerpts from my book. I have some audio excerpts. I have some written excerpts from my book. I have a Safe Journey prayer, which video or audio you can listen to, and I have some great, really popular trailers at the top of my page. So I really encourage people to check out my page and try and understand better what I'm trying to approach. I think this book is really the first book to really approach every aspect of sexual health, and the 3 different EDs I've identified, really this arousal issues primarily, but also with covering sexual health, relational health, and overall physical health. I combine everything together, and it's all made possible because of God's light and healing, which comes through a healthy neurology and a pure mind.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being such an inspiration to so many, Brooke. I really, really appreciate your journey and how you have come over to the other side and are now supporting others from your experience base and through your research and all these wonderful modalities that you've been describing. So really appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you so much. It's been the most incredible journey of my life.
Thank you. Now, everybody, just for a moment, let's focus our awareness and our intention on this really, really inspirational energy that's been activated. And imagine sending this energy to everybody and to everything on our planet, to remember that we are all truly one, and that the more of us have the courage to step into our sacred feminine power, the more quickly we will heal and the more quickly our planet will also heal. Thank you so much for listening.